You're listening to Linux News Log, separating the Linux and open source signal from the noise.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I am your host Adrian, coming to you almost live from lovely Petaluma, California, here in Studio MC2 at QuickSurf Internet Studios. Linux News Log is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Do feel free to head on over to techpodcast.com and check out all the other technology-related shows over there as well. I'd like to encourage everybody to visit us online over at quicksurf.com. You can shoot me an email, linux@quicksurf.com. And this is season 15, episode 1. We do a new season every 21 episodes. So we average roughly about 2 seasons a year, sometimes 3 seasons a year, depending just on how everything turns out. But it's a weekly show. And for those of you who are just discovering us, before we get into the stories for this episode, I just want to do a little administrative housekeeping notifications. The high def video feed is for the time being. I will not be providing high def via download. It really basically just came down to for video. It really just basically came down to the fact that the standard F video plus the MP3 plus the OGG Vorbis total size was less than the HD video size. And given the fact that the number of people who are actually subscribed to the HD video and actually download the HD video on a per episode basis is literally a handful of people, given the fact that it's like 1/10 of 1%. So I was looking at that going, well, it's, it cost me money to host this. And so I can literally cut my online storage requirements in half by not providing an HD video. You can still get the SD video. You can still get the MP3 and the OGG Vorbis. If you're subscribed to the HD feed, one of those several people who do actually download the HD video, don't fret, don't change anything. You'll for the time being, you'll get the standard definition video. If I ever start doing the HD video again, you'll start to get it. So don't change any subscription settings or anything like that. In fact, if you'll be watching the standard def version of it right now. If you absolutely have to have HD, you still can get it though, on YouTube and on blip.tv and Dailymotion. I still will upload an HD video there. I just won't make it available from my own hosting source simply because it's costing me a pretty penny, considering the fact that per episode I've got 10 people that actually download it. It's ridiculously small compared to the MP3 and the OGG Vorbis and the standard F version. So just thought I'd let everybody know. If you are subscribed to the HD feed, don't change anything. Once I start doing it again, if I start doing it again, you will automatically start getting the HD version. And in the meantime, you'll automatically get the SD version. So don't change a thing. All right, let's go ahead and get into the news for this episode. From the Register, production-ready ZFS offers cosmic scale storage for Linux. I thought this was awesome. Now, I must note that part of the reason why I'm including this is because I have been a long time user of ZFS here at my house, my home server. It runs FreeBSD, and I keep almost all of my storage for everything minus backups on ZFS. And have done so for quite some time now, years actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So the cool thing about this is the maintainers of the native Linux port of the ZFS high reliability file system have announced that the most recent release, version 0.6.1, is officially ready for production use. They say that over 2 years of use by real users has convinced them that ZOL, Z-O-L, which is ZFX on Linux, is ready for a wide-scale deployment on everything from desktops to supercomputers. This is from developer Brian Beneldorf. He wrote that in a mailing list on this past Wednesday. So now the only catch on Linux anyway, on FreeBSD, ZFS is built in, but on Linux, the only catch is it's not distributed with the kernel, primarily because of licensing. There's a licensing incompatibility between ZFS and the way the Linux kernel is licensed, and so there are no distributions that will do it, but you can get it as a port and, compile it in yourself if you want. Personally, I've never done that. It's far easier for me to just simply do FreeBSD and get ZFS kind of built in and have all the, FreeBSD natively supports it, especially with NFS file sharing and all that stuff. So, getting it to work on Linux is a little more work, but you can do it. Now, ZFS, it's basically gigantic data. You can store a gigantic amount of information on ZFS, and it does it reliably. That's the one thing. I cannot tell you over the years how many times I have, had a hard drive fail on my home server. This is not a small home server. This is several terabytes of storage space. I've had a hard drive fail on my home server, and I've, cycled in a new drive and not lost data. And this is not even having to exercise my backups. This is just, on the live system. So it's pretty awesome. Now, if you don't feel that you can do ZFS on your Linux, that's okay. There are alternatives that are similar. There's no real direct replacement. ZFS is pretty awesome, but there's no real replacement. But there are some alternatives like BTRFS. Am I saying that right? BTRFS. So anyway, BTRFS. It's a GPL licensed file system. It's been under development at Oracle since 2007, and it's got similar features to ZFS, but it's not a straight up ZFS replacement. But frankly, personally, I prefer ZFS because its whole management and data integrity scheme. It's hard to beat. If I were forced to go to Linux, and I couldn't do FreeBSD, I might consider something besides ZFS, or I might actually go through all the trouble to get ZFS working through this Zol. But, I highly recommend it for anybody who wants to try it. ZFS is awesome. From Ars Technica in their Technology Lab Information Technology section, Microsoft has been accused. Since when are they not accused of anything? Microsoft has been accused of locking out Linux in the EU antitrust complaint. What? That's right. A Spanish group that represents open source software users has accused Microsoft of using an obstruction mechanism to prevent buyers of Windows 8 computers from installing Linux-based operating systems. Yeah, it's called Secure Boot. That mechanism, of course, is UEFI Secure Boot, which improves boot time security on machines designed to run Windows 8 by only booting operating systems signed with a trusted certificate. Unfortunately, they're unhappy, and so, I don't know where this is going to go. It's an 8,000 member open source group. It's called Hispa Linux. It's a Spanish. They've filed a complaint, and we'll see how how everything kind of washes out. From PR Web software company Anahata to use InSync for Google Drive Sync on Linux. So on Friday, the 24th of March, Pablo Rodriguez Pinas, founder and co-director of the Perth-based software company, announced the company will use InSync to sync Google Drive folders on PCs running any Linux distros. Kind of nice. So this company specializes in cross-platform enterprise application development using the Java platform, and it allows developers and other staff members to choose their preferred operating system. Has been trying the InSync client for almost a year. So pretty neat. Definitely check it out. Over at Engadget, OpenELEC 3.0 Linux distro gets official and supports more hardware than ever. and I'm using air quotes here for those of you who are not watching the video. The OpenELEC Linux distro came out of beta with its official 3.0.0 version this week, and according to its makers, nearly every part has been upgraded since the 2.0 release last year. So this is OpenELEC is based on XBMC 12.1 and a bunch of updates such as specific improvements for Raspberry Pi, MC001 devices, Apple TV, and AMD hardware. Pretty neat. If you're on version 2.0, you have to manually do the update, but hopefully they'll fix that in future versions. From iprogrammer.info, Learn Raspberry Pi with Linux. This is a book review. I thought it was pretty interesting. If you're looking to get into Raspberry Pi, this is a nice place to start. Definitely check it out if that's something you're looking into. As always, everything we talk about is linked up in the show notes, which you can find online at quicksurf.com. From embedded.com, Wind River intros Yocto project compatible carrier grade Linux. Pretty neat. Wind River has introduced the Wind River Linux carrier grade profile for the latest version of Wind River Linux, formally registered for the CGL 5.0 specification with the Linux Foundation. The project delivers carrier grade Linux functionalities on top of the Yocto project compatible product. So, pretty nice. Basically, what you get with this is a turnkey platform that allows users to meet their CGL requirements, which is the carrier grade Linux requirements, which you have, part of that is compliance to standards, support for highly available hardware, serviceability, performance, high availability, clustering, and security. Carrier grade products typically require up to 5 nines or 6 nines, which is 99.999 or 99.9999% availability, translating down to a downtime as low as 30 seconds a year, which is, amazing. So anyway, check it out. Wind River's been doing a lot of really neat stuff. From the H Online over at htackonline.com, in their kernel log, they have a nice little write-up on what is coming up in Linux kernel 3.9. Pretty neat. Some of the cool stuff: SSD caching, the device mapper, which is used by the logical volume manager, can now also be used independently and includes a cache target called DM cache. This option enables a drive to be set up as a cache for another storage device. For example, an SSD is a cache for a hard drive. Pretty awesome. BTRFS, in addition to RAID 0 and 1, the BTRFS file system now includes experimental native support for RAID 5 and 6, as unveiled in February. Embedding RAID capabilities within the file system allows implementation of features that are difficult to realize using the layer model. Obviously, this is why ZFS is so awesome. Under miscellaneous, ext file system developers have fixed a performance problem in the JBD2 journaling layer used by ext4, which arose in Linux 3.0, so that is fixed. Support for user namespaces has been added to CIFS and CIFS and NFS and various other file systems. However, it has not permeated up through XFS, so you can only activate it in the kernel configuration if XFS is deactivated. Changes to Fuse include optimization of scatter-gather direct I/O and support for the readdir plus API. The latter has already been used in NFS and can speed up certain file handling ops, which is nice. The sysfs file system now has a directory, which is /sys/fs/pstore, for mounting the pstore file system in the event of a system crash. Pretty nice. You can be used to store data useful for analyzing the cause of the crash after rebooting. Other miscellaneous in storage, the C group controller for regulating disk read and write speeds now correctly supports hierarchical control groups where CFQ is used as the I/O scheduler. This does not yet apply to I/O throttling. And changes to the kernel's memory management can reduce latencies produced by stable pages. Since Linux 3.0, stable pages protect data already delivered to the kernel for writing, but not yet written from further modification. So pretty interesting. The libh Ada drivers now support zero power optical device drives, which is ZPODD. Kind of minor thing there. And then there's a bunch of minor stuff. There's a whole list of links in file systems and storage. You can check those out individually, but I covered the kind of the bigger items as pointed out in this article. And that's all I've got for this episode of Linux News Log. As always, everything we've talked about is linked up in the show notes. You can find those online over at quicksurf.com. Please do shoot me an email, linux@quicksurf.com, and subscribe to the show if you haven't already done so. It helps show support for the show. And with that, I will see all of you on the next episode. I'll see you then. Bye.